Okay, recording has started.
All right, it is 7 o'clock and I'll call the meeting to order. We have 4 present with 2 absent, Jessica and Morgan. Mary, are you good for taking notes?
Yes.
Thank you. Going down the agenda, beginning citizen comment period. Are there any citizens in the audience? Seeing none, we'll continue on. Consent item 1, consideration of possible action to approve the July 6th, 2023 library board meeting minutes. If you don't mind, take a minute to look over what Jessica has drafted up and let me know if you have any concerns. Are there any concerns in the group? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve the minutes.
A motion by Gracie, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Christina, all in favor? Opposed? Passes. Mary, would you mind signing the copy of the minutes here? As Jessica's name, feel like she's kind of crossing that out. Your name, just we have a records. Just get it out today. I'm with vice chair on the series.
I think he's president.
We've learned this first, that we don't forget again. Moving on, new business, subcommittee assignments for additional policies for. I don't know how many we have, any more policy assignments tonight, or scrapping these, we're going to the next. What are your thoughts?
Open to discussion.
The policies that we're going to move into for the continued business, do we think we're going to wrap them up tonight, or do we think there'll be enough discussion to push us into September?
I think the circulation policy will probably extend in September.
The circulation one?
And the library card policy? How are we feeling about that? All right.
I think it's possible to be on September, especially Jessica and Aaron should be working on that. And
Are the current subcommittee groups working well? Or do we think we should roll the dice and scramble the groups and pick a new assignment for the next set of policies? Or are you comfortable with how it's organized currently? As in, like, if I send out more policies after tonight to the same groups, you guys stay in the same committee for the next set of policies, does that work? Or do you think you want to like focus on certain policies that fit your interests versus a standard group assignments? Or do you really care? Okay,
I'm kind of with one leg in, one leg out.
okay. Well, let's do this. Let's not assign anything else until September. We'll wrap up with these. We'll throw some more out there. And all right, we're going to finish all the policies tonight. We'll circle back to this. And figure out what we'll use. Cool. Moving on, continued business, item 1, additional marketing ideas for library events. Mary, I know this was one that from like 2 months ago, when you met with council, we were very interested in seeing how we could publicize more library activities. I don't know if you had a chance to kind of think anything through, and I know one of the main things you were holding off on was until you had an assistant director in place to help coordinate those activities. Is that hire in place now, Colleen, or are we still?
Yes. Actually, yeah. Gonna be part of my library director's report, but if you want me to stay down.
Sure.
Okay, yeah, we hired Jessica McCart. She is currently a children's librarian at Twin Oaks Branch in Nelson. And she was library manager in Chicago before. She was also a library manager in Rozier Parish in Louisiana. So she's got some management experience, and we're really excited about having her on board. She's really got great energy and a lot of experience, and I think she's going to be fabulous for our team. So yeah, very excited. She starts the 21st of August.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so with that in mind, do we think it's going to be easiest to just meet with her and kind of take her right on any ideas that she has, brainstorm with her directly, or do you have other thoughts in that direction from?
So I think that's probably the best idea, but given the fact that she starts on the 21st, I'm actually leave next Friday for almost 3 weeks, and we'll be back on September the 6th. But as soon as I get back, I can go ahead and engage. Maybe that gives her, a couple of weeks in the job. So I have notes as to what are some ways, right, that could work, but these were just my own notes, not knowing really what has been done in the past, what works, what doesn't work. And at least for the limited time that I was here during the last meeting, there were some great points that were made as to, you also don't want to go so crazy, because then what will happen if, you have more than what you can handle, correct? And then also, it's not just as it pertains to the number of people that may be coming, but it's also how is that going to affect funds and that sort of thing. So I have my notes ready, and if that's the way the group wants to go, I'm certainly good with that.
Who could let out approach if you guys
Yeah.
are all kind of cool with that?
Yeah, and I would propose to that it would be a meeting with Jessica and you and I, just because I would want to put her in the position of having to feel like an expert at that point, unlike how we're advertising.
And I would walk through Jessica, the new director.
The
right?
new
Just to
assistant
be sure.
director, yeah. Yes, that's what I meant, yeah, perfect. Just because I don't really want to put her in the hot seat to prove something, like when she's in the learning, very, very early learning stages, but I would love for her to be part of that.
So how do you prefer that scheduling occur? Please send me like an email to get it on y'all's calendar for September, or what do you think?
Yeah, why don't you look at your calendar?
And give me some options.
Yeah, exactly, let's do it that way. And then she won't have to be around until she officially starts on the 21st, so it'll be.
I'll just connect directly with you, and then you can schedule it, and as long as you and I work out the time and date, and then it's to apply that. Yeah,
That sounds great.
perfect.
Yeah.
Any other discussion on that topic? Hearing none. Item 2, consideration of possible action on the library for policy subcommittee. Do we have that one up? Or
I did. So that, let me. We didn't make any changes to it, it's just from what we had it at before, right?
peruse stuff?
Yeah, because I don't think anyone sent me the newer version, because I think the ball was in my court to do, some research, so that's why, let's see. That's back. Okay, that's how I remembered it. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Let's see.
But probably
Uh-huh,
essential loss.
okay,
So I think this is the one that is most current.
Okay.
But it's stated it's title.
okay,
But we'll go through and make sure there aren't any.
okay, gotcha.
So none of us can see
That's
that.
not the one that is correct. I can go back in and take a look.
How is that for you, Joy? Mary, can you see that? Fine with that?
Yes.
Um, If it works for you guys, maybe we'll go back to the meeting minutes, go through what I know how you were going to freeze through and debrief on that before we talk about anything in the policy. Perfect. So I'm tracking that when we were going to look into the rationale for requiring proof of address in addition to the driver's license. Give either detail there, so the history and the requirements that apply to have two forms of identification.
So I have not been able to find anything that requires us to have both. And I talked to other library directors in the area, and they typically, if the ID has the address, then they don't require an additional proof of addresses. And they, a lot of other libraries also use like passport and proof of address, like, you know, a bill or utility bill or whatever. So, yeah, I couldn't find anything in the state law. There was nothing in our municipal code that said we had to have, we do have to have a picture ID, but if your picture ID doesn't have an address in Hays County or now it says Texas, then you can, oh, no, sorry. If it's not in Hays County, then you can show a utility bill or one of those listed as proof of residence. So, yeah, it isn't something that we would need to keep. And also that would mean that the restricted and unrestricted would go away, which is mean you either have the required ID or not. I mean, because right now what we're saying with unrestricted, restricted is if you only have one, if you only have a driver's license, if you only have one form of ID, you can get it restricted. But it doesn't make that much sense, because even if your ID says you live in the city of Powder, you have to have restricted. It doesn't make that much sense, so, and I couldn't find anything that supported that, or required that, so, I think we would be safe to change that. Part. So, one of the, things, I talked at length with the director in San Marcos. She's been the director a long time, and I love picking her brains. She's the one who told me about the whole history of why we do the whole state of Texas, because she, you know. So she said that in short, what they say at San Marcos is we need to know who you are, needs a picture, so we need to see if it's physical proof of who you are, verification, and where you are. Those are the two things we need, who you are, where you are. If that shows up on one ID, then that's all you want, right, you're covered. But if who you are doesn't have where you are, then you need to. That's how they kind of.
Yeah, well, that would be like a new person in the area.
Right.
It's just moved or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that, when she summarized it like that, that makes sense, is how they That makes so much sense. And then, the expiration date, I know that might, was that something else?
That's the next time.
Yeah, the expiration date, I mean, that is really our discretion. There's nothing that says that we have to have what it needs to be, and whether we have one or not. I mean, it's really, that is really, it's really to make sure people's information is up to date. It's really, expiration is a little bit of a hard term that really kind of rubs people the wrong way because it makes people feel like they might not be an active library user. I know I felt that way when I first came to Texas because in New York, where I come from, it doesn't expire. And so
It's a lifetime.
yeah, and so I kind of was like, that card expired, I was just here, like I didn't understand. It's really, I mean, I almost think we can still use that terminology, but I'm gonna, when we get to have a new policy, I'm gonna work with staff to have it talk about, say it such a way, see if I can have our language be more like, it's a
A renewal.
update, renewal or update, address, update, contact information kind of, because it really, that's what it is, as opposed to expiration. So, there is, I mean, to me, we could keep it at 2 years, we could extend it to 3 years. There is a 3-year thing that goes along with our accreditation, certain type of statistics in a 3-year period, so it almost like, seems like it could make sense to make that every 3 years. But, I mean, in more transient populations, every year is probably a good thing, just for updating information. But I'm open to discussion about that.
And so going to accreditation that you're referring to, I'll just use round numbers for, let's say, today we have 1,000 people that have an active library card. If we have them verify their residency and address every year, and we get 900 people that come back in, they verify that, does that top of 100 affect any kind of funding, affect any kind of accreditation status? It's more of just statistics to know how used the library is, but there's no change to your budget if you have 100 less or 100 more when you give it time, right?
Right.
So it makes sense to me that we move away from renewal or expiration and maybe just have staff verify that somebody uses their card every year or every whatever time frame, just to make sure their address hasn't changed. Change doesn't really affect the active status of their phone.
And I think that kind of also goes along with, we have in our system automatic renewals, which is very user friendly, and a lot of libraries do that now. So if your book is late, you'll get a reminder saying it's going to auto renew, And to me, I feel like there maybe in our system we can create a message that says your card, just stop by the library if anything's changed, stop by the desk if anything's changed in your, like maybe have it be like just an annual notice or by like every other year or something where it's like not everybody has to, because the pain about it is that when you expire, your online account also, like you can't check out anything.
Right.
So it's pretty inconvenient, and people will call and say, I can't download this Libby file or, that kind of thing, and it's literally just because they're kind of expired. So I would think it would be more patron focused to say, we don't have that hard expire, but more of a, if possible, it generates a message that says, check in with the desk if your information changed. I wonder if we could do something like that.
I would think that the only risk with that is if you're your system doesn't have the ability to flag, but that has occurred. Because what if it sent the email to the patron and the patron said no or didn't get the email, whatever the case may be, right? And it's been a year or 2 years, but then the person comes back to the library. And if staff doesn't know, are they able to at that point check out or not? And the update wasn't made because someone asked. So
That
can you
would be
flag?
okay, because we actually keep people's records in the system for a very long time, you know, so if someone's here, I've been here 5 years. Your card's probably definitely expired.
Yeah.
But we can activate it again, so we can just verify your information.
But if you're going away from expiration, in essence, everyone's active.
Oh, yes, I
right?
see what you mean,
Right,
yes.
so everyone's active, and if there is no flag that upon the patron coming to the desk,
Yeah.
something that there's like some flag that says, just ask a question, has anything changed? No, then you want flag. it.
Oh, yeah, I can look into that and check, because,
Otherwise, I would think that could be a potential, maybe different kind of issue. Maybe.
yeah, you're right. Yeah, I could, ambivalent is a program that we use with the software we use for our library. Catalog circulation systems. They're very good at, designing things that you, if you want, like, you know, their software engineers are like, oh, we haven't tried that before, let's give it, you know, they're in Austin, their headquarters, and they're very, very helpful. So I mean, it is something that we could look into doing it a different way and even look at what all the different settings are in Urbionics to make it more patron friendly and less like big, you know, red light. You're closed.
See, that did
you know?
happen to me, and it was like, I came to check on the card's expired, It's like, okay, I get a new one. But it, yeah, it's been some time, but it did.
Yeah, and I think too, it's like kind of not, like if it's an exclusively, if it's a patron that exclusively uses online resources, and they, you know, are in the hospital or sick or whatever, and they really need that resource, and it's like, and they have to come in physically, I mean, that's gonna be very, yeah.
So, oh, sorry.
One is, the digital library card is owned and us. So I don't want to mix up those concerns with like this, just like people are in. I think we're all aligned that verify, trust, something like that feels more patron friendly. One thing that kind of raises sensible to me is the non-resident category. The non-resident category we talked about, if we have that, and we had a fee for that, we would need to institute some type of like time that would expire. And it would make sense for an address verification for a resident library card. So align with that, just to make it easier for staff, so that they're not running two different types of files.
And so my recommendation, and I'm open to feedback and contrary views, is that we write the policy that clarifies the two forms of identification to just the who and where. We'll codify that. And then we'll also remove the exploration and leave a language here that at the library director's direction or you're going to direct staff to implement a process of verifying the information annually. And that way you have that discretion as software updates and changes. You don't have to amend the policy. You can just work with your staff on a regular basis of sentence. If it's an online flag, it's just they come in and check out a book and say, yeah, I still live in this address, whatever is easiest and works with the software system that exists. But it's also the check-in point for the non-residents of that annual, when you do that verification, you would also collect that $50 non-resident. Does that make sense? Do you have any opposition to that as our?
I think this simplifies things, otherwise it seems like we constantly going through edits on a policy or someone would forget and then you're, out of compliance.
I do think expiration could work for people who are paying for it. Because if they're accessing your resources because they've paid for them, it's a finite period of time that they've paid for, right? And so I feel like that does make sense, that we have, it's a year, it's $50 a year, or, whatever our determination is, but I feel like that would be the clue that they need to, and maybe they don't want to, and they say, oh, well, it wasn't all scripted up to be for,
Right.
I'm not gonna be in that area that often anymore, or whatever. But that one, to me, that one would be expired. I don't know what people's thoughts are on that.
I like that. Makes sense.
Yeah, you want to see where. The last email we got, so the digital record, something that we brought up was, the ID protocol for that. But should it be all online, that currently is the, that was part of the actions, but
So, we have a place in the Leonics where you can upload an attachment for just looking for people to submit their driver's license to that process. I think that would make sense.
we'll be about that part, and then you can share it.
Okay, yeah. Was there another? Excellent.
The other items that we were researching were the number of restricted library cards. That's a moot point now that that's going away. And then the last one is the number of items that are through the pet share program.
Okay, I want to come back to the restricted and non-restricted because I have a question that I need help thinking through. If we go to not having, if we move away from restricted and non-restricted, what do we do with everybody who is currently restricted?
Depends on what you're after.
We have, at this very moment, just in last fiscal year, we created 496 restricted accounts. That is, you probably have more than that, but that's just in the last year. Don't have the number on how many we have total. Active. At the time that I ran the report, it was like, I don't know, like 10,000 restricted, but that was like including all the inactive ones. So I forgot to run that extra report to say, we have active, but just in the last year, just to give you an idea, that in the last year, we did 500. But that just means they had one form of ID. So I think we just would have to think through the process of what we would do to bring everyone who's our past patrons to the level playing field with the new people coming in.
And the number of that would qualify for resident card in our new policy.
Right.
Then a number that would have to make a decision. Do I want to continue this and be a non-resident card holder, or do I want to just retire?
Or would we be willing to grandfather those people in, say, starting?
The restricted ones?
No,
The restricted.
yeah, the restricted, they were out of the area. And we gave them a card because at the time, the rule was they lived anywhere in Texas and they gave us a card. Would we retroactively, would we say now, beginning X date, that we would charge you $50? Or would we say, your grandfather in,
think it would be less chaotic if you just grandfathered them in. And then start with, at the timeline that we were going to do.
And so if I had a restricted car, and I had one form of like, you just have my driver's license, a limited time, I only have one idea to bring in the bill or whatever else. I would be eligible for a resident library card, it's just that at the time, we didn't really know.
Right.
If we're instituting an annual review cycle, maybe that's the way that we start weeding it out, is that everybody has to do that verification step every year. And we start chipping away at the population that is formally restricted and carve out those that should not be, that should be resident. That way that growing population will review. And whenever we do that, maybe give it a year to see how the numbers fluctuate too, and we can reassess if the grandfather can stays, or do we then bring in a $50 fee? Because I mean, if you're talking about like 10,000 people that are due a $50 fee, that's one thing. If it's 5 people, it's a different story. I don't know that we can determine that today.
I also think that it is possible, if it is more than we anticipate, that have restricted, that do not qualify as resident, that we could classify them as non-resident moving forward and waive this, so not grandfathering, but waive the fee for a year.
But we don't, we know that right now.
No, I'm saying that, so this is not calling them, it's calling them either resident, because they qualify, or non-resident, because they don't qualify. But not making them pay that $50 fee, which is at the discretion of the library director every time anyway, for that 1 year, a transitionary. Because they're supposed to, restricted are supposed to also be up for renewal every year anyway. Can't guarantee them a lifetime of being free or changing the rules, but an extra year.
It gives you one incentive. You guys have to hear think this through. Is it useful to you or not? Gracie, from your facial expression.
I know, but don't go by that. I mean, I'll say,
I'm making sure that.
I'm trying to process the whole thing myself, so I can't control my facial features.
You would not even.
So I would think that whatever's defined. That this policy would be one that patrons need to be made aware of that it has changed. And I think that's one of those things they almost have to market and either put it through the City of Kyle News, you put it out on your website, you put some, thing here, just so that everyone is in the know, and probably something that becomes effective like 3 months from now, so people have plenty of time. Because there's a difference when you're dealing with, you are, a corporation versus this is a service, that's right. And so I would think that if you can do it right, it doesn't matter which way you go, then all the complaints are not probably going to come to you. I'm sure that they'll go to city council and even people that don't have a card will complain about it because they can't, and that's where it's not really you want to do or not. And so I think that you put a time in future to give people enough time. And then I think you're right, you give them a specific period of time, but I also think that there's something you cannot decide on that because you don't know. Right. Yeah.
You don't know what they are, and you're
Right.
correct. I agree, and I also think that, I do not want this to be overly cumbersome to our staff and have it be so confusing that they can't consistently follow through with it because it's so too complicated. And so that's one thing I want to really be careful about too. And also, I am really big into making sure we spin any changes in a really positive and like a light that makes sense and not generates animosity and upset feelings, because the purpose here is not at all to
turn people away from using the library. It's really just, updating our policy, which hasn't been, and so it's not like, I don't want in that process, which is a necessary process, I don't want anyone to, be erroneously penalized for something that they didn't have anything to do with being the way it was.
And I think that's the beauty of it, is that people like Spencer that don't have a full card just because they don't have extra bills, so they say, you only need one now, that is sad. Spend is you only need one solid form of education if you have it. Take extra, you need it, but we don't have to do that, and we're hoping that the other portion of the population that is restricted for other reasons, and they are not actually residents here. We need to know more about this people. We do, we need people to parse the difference between someone that lives here and doesn't have the appropriate identification on hand, and people that don't still want our services. Why, is there a need somewhere else that we don't know about? Is there a portion of the population that was serving?
And if we're being funded by city and county revenues, we should appropriately provide services to that population. And right now, we're both excluding people who should have more access, and we're potentially having people who shouldn't have the same level of access with access.
Right.
Uh-huh.
That raised it.
So if I understand the feeling from the group, in theory, we're updating the policy and enjoy kind of the action items. I just left the very vague last paragraph that talks about removal and expiration at the bottom. You guys can wordsmith, and then to clarify throughout the above, the time frame thing all the same. But that in theory, we're looking to maybe approve this in September. With Mary, the caveat being it takes effect January 1st, 2024. That we have a 3-month period to publicize it, make sure the policy is going to effect. But we still have this 1-year grace period, which during that year, we're not going to find anybody who would have been grandfathered in the $50 fee. It's that renewal cycle that we're classifying who goes where. You go to the resident part, or we now know you get a non-resident, and you should be aware that come a year from now, you're going to be assessed this $50 fee whenever that renewal cycle comes in.
Did you write all that out?
Mayor's your secretary, right? I mean, I'm happy to write that down here. That is helpful.
Would it be possible to, if we are in the process of doing this and saying we're gonna, moving forward, non-resident people have to pay the $50, is it possible to look at our fines, late fines in the circulation policy and put a spin on, a positive spin on it and move towards being fine-free? So that we could say we're gonna be, so it would see we're making our revenue by having our resident. Because people get very upset when you go fine free because they say, okay, there's that revenue stream that's gone, and how are we gonna, that's, even though it's not a very big revenue stream, it's very small, but people get upset. So if you sort of say, good news, bad news, there's gonna be a fee for other residents. But we are waiving these fees for all patrons. I mean, to me, like, and and this would be in the vein of modernizing our policy as we grow to a bigger city. And because we're a bigger city, we need to limit who can access our resources. We have to be, mindful of our taxpayers, and I can't say the right word, but, and then, good stewards of the taxpayers' dollars, so we don't want to open it up to everyone, but to everyone, we will not charge for late fines any longer, only lost or damaged materials. I mean, just, and then we don't have to decide that tonight, but it's just like, as we think through how to do a spin that is not gonna cause a lot of, upset or controversial, like, feelings, towards the library, I'm just trying to think about. And we don't have to.
Money will. Money will. But if you mention money, it will keep controversial. It doesn't matter how much of a positive spin you will put. I think what I've heard is modernizing as we grow. And then some of the other things that I heard is you're really introducing worrisome steps that preclude certain individuals, and you want to, this is where you want to bring your communications team in to help you market, and it's just a one sentence, a phrase that you use the right catchy words, which entails, it's not that you're not telling a true story, but you're really telling what it is that you're trying to accomplish with this, right? Because I think you said quite a bit about the fact that you want to, it's maybe the same population, but it's just you no longer fit here, you fit over here, right? And are we servicing you? Because we don't know which population you fit in. So, but I would stay away from needing money.
I'm also nervous about a horse trade of this file for this fee, only because the next logical question is then, well, what's that net delta between what you would be receiving on one side versus the other side of that market? And I don't know that I personally love a word given this in exchange for that, and more of what makes most logical sense from an organizational standpoint, how we're assessing fees, how we're assessing funds, what makes sense as we're modernizing, as we're growing, and not a one-to-one. If it happens to be trade one for the other, great, but I wouldn't want to divorce the merits of what the policy says from the feel-good spin you could put on it, and just go off of what makes the best policy sense. So I think to what Mary, doesn't matter, it's a good story. It could be bad no matter what, and I'd rather we err on my recommendation would be letting err on the side of what makes the right policy sense and less.
That benefits the patient.
Aside from the card, if that is what your point of view is, and I know before the, so this was it, I mean, without having to talk about it all, I think, there's no way to just add codes cancel. Just a matter of limitations. So.
Well, I think this is a good transition point to the next policy where we do assess those fees. If we're comfortable with this line or this discussion, is there anything else we need to go over from the policies?
It's the tax share. We have a limit of 4, and we get to determine what that limit is, and then it's set that way. It usually is pretty, most libraries don't have huge limits for tax share. And the reason being is that if a family, like let's just say a family of 5 all had tax share cards, and they all are, say they lived in a different area that didn't have their library, right? And they, all 5 family members took out 4 items, or if we said the max was 10, all 5 family members took out those 10 items, let's say, that would be 50 items. And that's a lot of money for people that may not come back. And also, it also kind of doesn't make the library or the municipality or the region that they live in as committed to improving the library for their residents if they're getting all their services from the yeah. So that there is very good, most libraries have small limits on their tax share policies.
So, but just to clarify, there's a limit of 4 tax share cards per household or items?
4 items per card.
Per card,
Yes,
okay.
4 items per card.
So that,
So there isn't a limit of how many in the family, there are age limits, there are, but there are, you have to be a card holder for 2 months before, but 4 items is how many you can generate.
You know, recall, right, Christina, we're defining the number of items checking out per card in your policy, not library card policy.
Right.
Oh, the other thing that we did not get clarification on is maybe that's something you and Jessica can, is all the types of things that are the photo ID and the proof of residence. Are we final on those things?
Those right there?
We have to reframe it based on the new now one. It's kind of like a who you are, where you are, so we're gonna have to frame it. And these are not necessarily all, like all of number one, not every single one of them would count. Right, so the driver's license would, but a green card would not.
Mhm.
I'd like the format we had here of like the 2 sections, maybe we could just reorganize that, like who's and the what's, who's and where's, and 1
But
and 2.
a passport could work still as your photo ID, it's just that that wouldn't be a one.
Right.
Yeah, it would be-
I think that, yeah, I think.
yeah, okay. Yes, that is.
And the only other item we're tracking is here, we said define appendix A as that registration form. We don't have that listed here, but we will be forwarding to you the registration form that already exists. Is that what you believe to do, Joey?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't edited it. Should we edit it? This is not a policy requirement. I wasn't sure how much, how high touch would be appreciated. Can you recreate them?
And so I'm wondering if instead of referencing appendix A, you say as fill out applicable forms as directed by the library.
As provided by representative. We can get some like outline suggestions about what would be in the form based on the changes. And just like the.
And the other thing to add to is just that, making changes that like in a full manner is not that difficult and really doesn't require a lot of data. Staff would probably be something that I would do. So if we were to say, bulk change these, 100, 500 cards from restricted to from non-restricted. From restricted to non-restricted, it wouldn't be like, it's literally like a command kind of thing. It's not like it would be like having to do 500, so I mean, just to have that in your mind about changes and stuff like that, it's not super labor intensive to make certain changes. Yeah, that's good.
Any other discussion on this policy? Hearing none, I would motion to table this policy for revision and discuss tonight until the September 2023 meeting. There's been a motion and a second. All in favor? Opposed? This passes. Before going on to item 3, a quick time check. It is 7:50. Does anybody have their hard and clock cut off? Or we can go a little bit beyond just knowing the timeline?
Probably not too long. I'm starting to get very uncomfortable.
Understood. So let's do this. Christine,
Yes.
the edits that you guys have,
Mhm.
I expect it will take more than 10 minutes.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Alison Morgan is not here. She had a lot of thoughts as well.
Yes.
The direction of this policy.
Mhm.
okay with you all, let's table this till September.
I'm down for that.
I would motion to table this item till September 2020. Second from Tracy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Is it possible to just give a bit of feedback that would make their edits a little bit easier for me? Yeah. Are you okay with that? The parts about the, library theft law and collection agency and all that.
Mhm.
I'm not sure where that is sourced from. And, so I just wanted to make sure that you guys were using the city of Kyle municipal code around material, like what the city of Kyle law is says about that. That's why I just want to make sure, because I didn't find anything about library theft law.
I would have to ask Morgan, she's spearheading that section of the
Okay.
policy, but I can ask her and I can take note and take that to her and just ask.
Yeah, just because we couldn't put something that in there that was not, in our municipal code, you know what I mean? So that's the only thing I just want to make sure, because I don't want to have us spend a lot of time on it next time, when really it's just based on, like,
Yeah.
what we have to follow based on the code from the city ordinance.
And also too, just to kind of put this out there, like, I don't know if that's something that we want to keep in that policy, in this regulation policy. This is our first go at a circulation policy, so if that does not fit there, please feel free to let us know, or if we need to take it out and include that somewhere else into procedures as far as like building procedures go, that's fine. We just put that in there to kind of like be aware that that is something that we should be conscious of. And whether that shows up in a different policy, I would be fine with that too.
Okay, and I can send you the link to the language in the code, the city code that refers to people not returning materials.
Okay.
Yeah, and then that would be pretty much what we have to do. That's it.
Item 4, library director's report.
So, I already gave you the update about just her, joining us first. We had another budget meeting, and so far, nothing that we proposed and asked for has gotten applied. So things are moving forward with everything we wanted. We're not quite at the 100% approved point yet, but, that would be most likely the end of August, that it'll be finalized. Our stats, I have this here for you, our stats, July wasn't quite as busy as June, which is pretty typical for our reading programs. People get very gung ho in June and then sort of get busy in July, so, but still, very, very good stats. Still much better than what we've had in the last couple of years because of COVID, so we're really pleased with that. I have gotten a commitment from the Friends of the Library that they are going to purchase the bookmobile, and I had a Zoom call with the vendor that we're going to go with, and I sent him a letter of intent saying that we want to start the process because it could take 18 months. I think I told it before. So it's, and I was going to meet with him today to talk about specs and have the quote, the official quote. And I asked him if we could wait a little bit because Jessica, our new assistant director, has worked with bookmobiles before, and I really want her input on specs because I just haven't, I personally haven't worked with a bookmobile, so I want to make sure that I'm not missing an opportunity to hear from someone who has really great insight into what should be on it and stuff. So, but I didn't want it to slow down us getting in the queue for them to start working on it. So he said that as long as I sent a letter of intent, his boss would accept that as putting us in the queue. So, that is, happened today, so we're happy about that. And then week of August 21st, we're gonna meet again, Jessica, and basically have all the, we decided to go with the Mercedes Sprinter, which is the size of the vehicle we want. The other one was a Ford Transit, something or other, and one of the downsides on that was the turnaround time, a little longer than 15 months for the Ford. So, but they're very comparable. Yeah, so we're pretty excited, very excited, and it looks like the outreach librarian is on track to be improved, in which case we have that person join us, sometime in the fall, October, November, and then have that person just start doing outreach to the community without the local bill, and then the local bill is there to add that in. And then, yeah, we served as an evacuation site for the wildfires.
Yeah.
Yes, day before yesterday, and everyone really, staff stepped up and were amazing at making people feel welcome and do whatever we had to do to adjust our space and our other meetings going on so that, and it didn't turn out to be a lot of people. I think there were only 2 families that I was aware of. There may have been others that just went out in the library, but in the space that we had with water and snacks and games and movies and stuff, we had 2 families. So, but it was really wonderful to see our staff and community together and be flexible. And so that didn't turn out to be a total disaster, thank goodness. And then, yeah, we have been short-staffed. As I said, I had a family emergency in July, and I had to go help my mom in Savannah, and so our staff has just really knocked it out of the park. It's been a trying summer with one of our staff members having surgery, and then our assistant director leaving, and then me not being there for a couple of weeks, and it's just really proud of them. So grateful for the work and dedication and commitment that they all bring every day. It's really just makes me so proud and so happy to have such an amazing team. So we're working on fall planning. That's going to be happening in the next couple of weeks. And one of the new things that we're doing is we've had 7 story times, which is a lot for a library in this community. And I've really been trying to look at equity across all age groups in populations. And so it feels like we're very pre-kindergarten heavy. And so, and our staffing is, not as much as you would hope with 60,000 people and as residents. So I looked at which of our story times is the least attended, and also a need that we have is more space and more programming in the evening. And so what I have decided, working with staff, is that we're going to be getting rid of or canceling for now our pajama story time, which is on Tuesday night. And in place of that, we're going to be having monthly or bi-monthly, I'm not quite sure, Saturday story times to make up for working families or whatever who may have been finding pajama time. And then in place of that, on Tuesday nights, we're going to be having a lifelong learning wellness type of evening. And we'll be doing different types of programming throughout the year, just whether it be yoga classes or health screenings or mental health workshops or civic classes for learning on civic, learning about government, just kind of all kinds of community health and wellness things. And so I'm really excited about that. So we are going to be letting our patrons know that Pajama Storytime is going, all the story times are on pause right now, but we will, at the time that we say that it's Pajama Storytime, won't come back, we're going to say that we are going to start having Saturday story times and also this lifelong learning. And we haven't figured out the name of it yet, but it's a series that we're going to be having. And, yeah,
It sounds cool.
yeah. Excited about it. Yeah. So that's it for now.
Is volunteers or?
Yes, yes, yeah, okay. So we did, as I talked about in the past, we did have many books left over from that book sale we had. And because my July got eaten up by not being here for part of it, I did not get it resolved to have the books delivered to the Inside Project, which is where we're donating leftover books. And they want them, which is wonderful. But Jessica had mentioned that she was willing to be a volunteer to help deliver the books. And I was wondering if anyone else would be interested, because we have more than one carload. If I were to do it, it would probably take 2 or 3 carloads. And so I was wondering if anyone else was interested in delivering books.
So where are we delivering, where will they be?
And it's in Austin, it's in East Austin, 14th Street.
You go east.
East Austin.
On 14th Street.
Yeah. Okay.
So I could probably do it too, just.
And the times that they have people available to help unload, which is when they prefer to get their big donations, is Mondays and Thursdays during the day, or Thursday or Sunday evenings. So all we have to do is, you can tell me what your availability is, if you're wanting to help, and it doesn't even have to be anything kind of, volunteers. And then I would just let them know what to expect. You can probably give you a contact number.
Yeah.
That I can go there.
Sunday and what?
So let's see, Thursday and Sunday evenings. They didn't say the time. I mean, I'd have to ask. And then Monday and Thursday daytime.
Okay, so it's Thursday and Sunday evenings, but also Thursday during the
Are
day.
they boxed up?
They're all lots of stuff.
Okay.
So we would need help getting them in the vehicle and then getting them off there.
Yes.
Okay. Mondays would probably be the best for me, so.
I don't think it's something.
Okay.
I might be able, I get my truck out of the shop. Load some stuff up.
Okay, cool. If you guys after the meeting want to just let me know, or,
It doesn't matter what Monday, right? I mean, it just as long as they get there on those days.
So we'll all, need to kind of work best for us. All volunteer and then we just load up the cars.
yeah, there are probably about 20 boxes.
Yeah, I just did a bunch of back in my truck. All of them.
Because we're gonna have a fall book sale too. And we already have donations and we have books for that, so I would like to get those.
Yeah.
And what's the name of the place that we're going
It's
to?
called the Inside Project.
In fact,
Inside Books, right?
Inside Books?
Inside Project, yeah.
Is it inside or inside?
inside.
Inside, yeah.
Like that in. Inside.
It's a really cool little thing
Figures with
to do.
teacher retirement, we always donate.
Okay, so you guys will email me your days and then I'll let you know. I'll respond to you with the hours and the contact information about that.
See how we can get it postcard.
Yes, yeah. When staff is available.
Right, definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I won't be able to do it otherwise.
100%.
Item 5, Friends of the Cow. Did you have a report or questions? consider the mural as the
Yes. And they have had one, I have to say last time, I had a message in my voicemail from them. That I didn't notice until I think they came through for everybody. So no, I don't have anything, so.
awesome. So any other discussion there? Hearing none, announcements and informational items and next meeting. Next meeting will be on September 14th, 7 p.m. As I mentioned in the email, coordinating the agenda in October, we are expecting new appointments to the board. So that would be kind of a strategy if we can in September, knowing that we have some basis in October. The board appointments that are up, Christina, you're one of them. Gracie, you are as well. I know Gracie, I think you're the terminated out after this year. Well, I don't
You're
know.
right. Can no longer be part of it. Yeah, I mean, I looked at the days. It's like, but anyway.
So it's September's also a thank you Gracie celebration.
So you serve it?
And I know Morgan as well is also up. for-
Really?
Christina, I'm assuming you'd like to stay on or are you
Yes.
done with us?
No, I'd like to stay.
So then we'll coordinate with council on recommendations to get you back on the board. Mary, are you comfortable running for re-election? Do you want to slightly decline? Do you want time to think about it? I want to kind of.
Yeah, so certainly if anyone would like a chance, I have no problem setting aside and giving someone else a chance. If no one is interested, I have no problem serving as, so on my role.
Perfect. I have the same stance there too. You guys hate what I'm doing, so let me know. I'll step aside. But I do believe Jessica would like to catch the coach. So just kind of putting that out there, then we discuss in September or October.
Looks like we would have one vacant position to advertise. More than once.
This term.
One thing is.
She's interested in your.
Oh, great.
And the way that the new rules are is that you don't have to reapply, it's just that we make a recommendation. to council.
That's cool.
It's nice.
Yeah.
It's just,
I know, do the whole thing.
All right, that's all that I have on my list. Is there anything else from the group that I have missed? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn? Motion from Mary. Is there a second?
I said,
Second from Gracie, all in favor, opposed? All right, we were adjourned at 8:08.
Just make sure it's the same. Yes, absolutely.
And I put my initials on the comments there because it has Tommy's name. I want to make sure that it's clear record of who wrote what. I just made it sound so we're.
No, that's very true. I wouldn't think it's like, when people sign it.